enforcement found shell casings at the crime scene with the words deny, defend, and depose.
Deny, defend, and depose.
2024 in review. Doomed Planets Frightening, 5th season. Hello, everybody. This is Alex, your host. Before we look at what we covered on this podcast last year, I want to do some obituaries. I mean, after all, this podcast is supposed to be obituaries for the damned. And I'm going to do some cheating here and just go with the New York Times kind of people who died in 2024 and riff off of that. And it's a positive thing. I mean, you're celebrating great people who did great things. And also, if an evil person dies, that's a great thing too. And that's a positive thing. The New York Times is such a laughable, sick joke of so-called journalism. You know, all the news fit to print. I'm remembering back in the 80s, Frank Rosenthal, executive editor, one of the most important people at the paper at that time, wrote an editorial about crack babies and the crack scourge is producing these deformed and sick babies that the crack smoking moms are having, and completely racist lie since long debunked. And then, of course, their coverage of Palestine has always been laughable, but since the October 7th incident, it's been just comical. And thanks to the internet and Twitter, you know, people have alternate sources of information, and they also like to mock and ratio the New York Times. I love that. However, there is good journalism to be had. I mean, they have, 1,000 reporters, and their obituary section is always good. So we're just going to go through that real quick. Roberto Cavalli, fashion designer, don't care. Richard Serra, good sculptor. I liked his stuff. Carl Andre, another great sculptor. This is the arts section. Who died? What art fucks died this year? And in the world of books, the refined New York-centric world of books, who died? I don't know any of these people. Wow, this is like the Alex is an ill-informed lout an anti-intellectual that knows nothing about culture. How come it's always rich white people that get listed in this section? Okay, here we go. This is the "We're glad you're dead because you were evil" section. Business and economics. Jacob Rothschild, 87, banker who broke from his fabled family. Yeah, it was probably really tough, dude, to break away from your incredibly rich family and just go on your own and pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Gerald Levin, 84, Time Warner chief during the AOL merger debacle. We laughed about this so much, me and my geek internet friends. Time Warner acquired America Online right as the internet was moving away from these proprietary services toward an open internet with a web browser. Tragic and dumb mistake. Okay, Ivan Bosky, another 80s Wall Street criminal, or as the New York Times would put it, rogue trader. Bernie Marcus, founder of Home Depot. Okay, I believe that guy's a right-wing tool. The guy that helped create Pop-Tarts, William Post. That's on the scale of evil, that's kind of low, but still, it's junk food poisoning Americans. Wally Famous Amos was 88. I always liked him. I remember being in New York City as a kid and seeing these cookie stores and seeing the hype and like, oh, it's a black guy owns a business. Who would have thought? And actually, he had a interesting career. He was a talent agent till he got into the cookie biz. And I believe he retired and lived in Hawaii. David Lederman, who redefined the chocolate chip cookie. with David's cookies, right? All the chocolate chip fucking cookie guys are dying. And then here, Brian Thompson, 50, Chief Executive of United Healthcare.
I do not give a fuck. I really do not give a fuck.
That I can't think of a time where someone's death led to more joy, at least in this country, and more celebration and Schadenfreude. You know, I mean, Hitler killed himself, and that was international news, but it was a chaotic time back then, and there was no Twitter or TikTok. Toby Keith died. All right, put a cowboy hat on an asshole and you have young country. Quincy Jones, what a guy. Okay, incredible. He donated millions of dollars to Garfield High School up the street from us in Seattle for a giant auditorium. Of course, he produced Michael Jackson. He was a incredible musician in his own right, and music industry legend. You know what? 91 years old. What a life. Chris Christopherson is like your creepy hippie uncle, a brilliant guy. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, but so many celebrities and entertainers, it seems like it's a psyops, and they've been picked by the CIA to, like, you know, become rich and famous because that it's going to guide their narrative somehow. I mean, the same way that Jackson Pollock was sponsored by the CIA and whatnot. That's not a conspiracy. It's well documented. And then you think about, okay, the Museum of Modern Art. Well, where did the money for that museum come from? Oil people.
And now a word from our sponsor.
This is it, Leopold. Hit it.
Tonight we witness an evolution as Ohio becomes BP. Yes, BP, a company acclaimed for the highest quality gasolines and motor oils.
Showtime, boys.
And you'll be served by the same great people as before. So Ohio becomes BP.
You think it was big enough?
BP, on the move.
Tito Jackson, Michael Jackson's brother. We love our celebrities. Mojo Nixon, musician and voice of the doomed, the damned, and the weird. Wow, that's almost like our podcast name and byline. I was not that interested in him. He's a fringe character, kind of like Frank Zappa, where like the personality is more interesting than the music. That's kind of some rambling shit. Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead. Damn, okay. That's a big one, and of course, I guess the Dead, they're continuing with John Mayer, really good guy, guitarist. Kinky Friedman, the musician and humorist with the Texas Jew Boys, kind of like he had his own unique, kind of larger than life personality that he turned him into a celebrity. Liam Payne, singer and songwriter for boy band One Direction, one of the best-selling boy bands of all time, and he died tragically, threw himself out of a window after some drug abuse, perhaps. So many celebrities pass away. I don't know who any of these fucking people are. Okay, politics and public affairs. Here's some Schadenfreude, perhaps. Dexter Scott King, 62, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s youngest son. Okay. Not that interesting. I think, was he the one caught up in the corruption thing or the tax evasion while exploiting his dad's estate? Nguyen Phu Trong, hardline general secretary of Vietnam's Communist Party. All right, good for you, man. Communism is good. Jeez, who are these fucking people? Pete McCloskey, congressman who rebelled against Nixon. That kind of, I just now feel that Nixon was set up and that was a psyop too. That was like, let's let's pin the blame for Vietnam and American imperialism and all the horrible things we inflict on the world on this Nixon guy, who's really sort of this smarmy, low-life, accepting suitcases full of cash in an alley kind of corrupt loser. Compared to Trump or Biden, not even in the fucking starting line. William Cowley, lieutenant convicted in the My Lai massacre. Again, a psyops from the media, stenographers for the State Department. These massacres happened all over the place, and I don't think that was common knowledge. So they had the media focus on just this one isolated incident, although it was a pretty ugly incident. Joseph Lieberman, at the ripe young age of 82, Zionist and right-wing, they call it Blue Dog Democrat, a Democrat in name only, dinosaur. So fuck him. I'm glad. I'm just reminded of that. Send him to hell or wherever he's going. It's not going to be anywhere good. Nothingness, the ether. Science and technology. Okay, this is a tough one because you have brilliant people, but then a lot of them become evil. I'm thinking of our, obviously Elon Musk and that kind of person. I don't know any of these people. Nobel Prize winners, lots of those. Here's a good guy. Richard Cash saved millions from dehydration. So, the good doctor, as they say. Sports. I know nothing of sports, although I like watching football. I've watched it my whole life, and I still know nothing about it. In fact, the Seahawks have this thing, the 12th man, and let's cheer for the 12th man. I didn't know what that was, and someone said, well, Alex, there's only 11 guys on the football field. The 12th man is the guy in the audience. God damn. O.J. Simpson. Sort of a smarmy lowlife in his post-football career. And murdered his wife and her friend in a brutal murder. Got sent to prison for this sports memorabilia robbery scam. Did a lot of drugs. And then he's in the Naked Gun comedy movies, which are great movies. Unfortunately, he's the hapless token black guy that gets abused and rolled down the stairs in a wheelchair and stuff. So, but I guess that helped his career because it kept him in the public eye. Dikembe Mutombo, okay. NBA star from Congo, notable because he was so incredibly tall, even in a league of giant monsters who are incredibly tall. Pete Rose, god damn. So, yeah, I grew up in Ohio and am old, and so I remember the Big Red Machine. The Cincinnati Reds won 3 World Series, I think, in 4 years. Brewery in Cincinnati called, I think, Hudipole had the team on cans. Oh, I'm confusing that with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There were Cincinnati Reds themed beer cans sold at Riverfront Stadium, of course. Now, the great thing about Pete Rose, he's kicked out of baseball and can't get into the Hall of Fame, even though he's the game's winningest hitter ever, because he did some gambling. And now fucking every sport is sponsored by DraftKings and FanDuel, these predatory online companies that it's gambling on sports.
They say fortune is fickle. Wrong. I just know what I like! And it ain't settling for 3. Because life's a gamble. Name is guaranteed. Gamble. Evil. Gunning it for glory. Love. Gamble. So let's make it interesting. I put $1 million in up to 5 DraftKings sportsbook accounts.
Lay it all on tonight's game or kiss it goodbye.
Hello, fortune.
So, the irony and the hypocrisy of our nation. I actually read a Pete Rose biography. It's pretty, he's a womanizer and he might have slept with a 16-year-old girl, but he was Charlie Hustle off the field and on. hustle. Richard Simmons. These people, 80s celebrities are dying. Richard was 76. He presented as gay, but maybe who knows what his sexuality was, who cares? But he was the TV exercise guru. Bob Newhart, okay, the king. What an incredible man. I'm glad he lived to be 94. He's in some great movies. He's in some great TV shows. And he started out, what was it? The Button Down Mind. What was that? He was a stand-up comedian, put out an album that became an instant hit and made him a celebrity, sold millions of copies. Phil Donahue, good guy. I believe during the Gulf War he was fired from his show because he spoke out against the Gulf War. Is that the first Gulf War, or the second, or the one we're in now? Who knows? There's a lot of those. Richard Lewis, good stand-up. I love stand-up comedians. Norman Jewison lived to 97, go-to big-budget Hollywood film director. David Soul was the actor known for Starsky and Hutch. If you look at that 70s cop show, they're all propaganda. This one had a harder edge where there were like colorful pimps and street life. And if you look at the show now, it's like a racist comic book. Okay, here's the king of all kings to die this year, Roger Corman.
The year 2000. America is a vast speedway. People line the streets to witness the greatest drivers on earth in a race from sea to shining sea.
This is a death race.
You finish first, or not at all. Death Race 2000.
Lived to be 98. The master of low-budget cinema. Prolific, according to the Times. And, I don't know what to say. A lot of great directors got their start working on his low-budget projects. He was not an artist. It was all about the bottom line and getting the microscopic budget through to the finish line in like your 2-week shoot or whatever, and then so you can make a profit at the drive-in movie theater. Martin Mull, incredible actor. You've seen him on TV on Roseanne and Mary Hartman. Great guy. He went to art school and put out some comedy albums, comedy music, and he designed the album covers himself. John Amos died. He was the star of Roots, that seminal miniseries about slavery, and also Good Times, which was one of these black sitcoms produced by Jewish guys. It was actually damn good. Sanford and Son is another great one because of the great Red Fox. Good Times, you look at their pilot episode and some of their first episodes, there's some radical Black Panther, radical black politics happening in those episodes.
We lucky we got 'em. Good time.
Shelley Duvall, best known for being the victim in The Shining. Chuck Woolery, a uniquely American job title, game show host, although those shows are now popular all over the world. And, that's it for the New York Times. So, coolest guy to die this year, Roger Corman. Schadenfreude Award to Brian Thompson, of course, the healthcare CEO who was assassinated. And that's happened since we published our last episode, but it filled me with joy to hear that. And then the outpouring of support for Luigi Mangione, the alleged assassin, incredible. It's a world-changing world historical event, and I couldn't be happier about that. And
hey there, Luigi, went and made yourself a martyr. See, your life is over now, and ours will keep on getting harder just the same. Profits over people is their game. They've got no shame. Hey there, Luigi, you put bullets bullets into Brian, but they've already replaced him, and the kids will keep on dying just the same.
Yeah, it's the NYPD. And of course, the reaction of the people in power has been so bad, so misguided, and so stupid. It just has increased his celebrity as a martyr. The perp walk with Mayor Eric Adams, who's been indicted for various crimes, with all these heavily armed goons.
I'm very concerned about my client's right to a fair trial in this case. He's being prejudiced by some statements that are being made by government officials. Like every other defendant, he is entitled to a presumption of innocence. But unfortunately, the way this has been handled so far, his rights are being violated. And as you know, Your Honor, there's a wealth of case law guaranteeing his right to a fair trial.
The Lee Harvey Oswald outfit, while the cops wore, suits instead of being in uniform that escorted him. It's incredible, man. What a hero. I love that guy.
CEOs are quaking, politicians shaking. Oodle lolly, golly, what a day. Never did the government assume it would be imminent, the people would be coming around. Billionaires were thinking that the dollars would be keeping them protected, safe and sound.
Okay, now we're going to talk about Doomed Planet's frightening 5th season. Okay, so in January, Doomed Planet has been monthly. I wish I could spend more time on it. Perhaps someday I will. In January of 2024, episode 107, America's Most Wanted, America's Least Wanted TV show. So this right-wing stooge, Adam Walsh, of the America's Most Wanted Fox TV show, rebooted the show with his son, his pathetic fail son, as co-host. And they're tough on crime, and they're putting the monsters behind bars. And I spent about 30 seconds looking up to see if that show has been renewed for another season or if it lasted more than a few episodes, but fuck them. Episode 108 of Doomed Planet, Surveillance Pornography, the Horrors of PornHub. Don't go there. The internet is filled with evil, and it's also a waste of your time, and it's going to rot your brain. Think of what you could do instead of going to this site and there's no curation. So it's not, it's all these beautiful people, it's great cinematography. No, it's the opposite of that. And episode 109, Doctor of Death, Dave Reichert. Dave Reichert is the fucking sheriff who could not catch the Green River Killer, but then when someone caught him, he stood up at a press conference and took credit. And he was running for governor of Washington. He had no chance of winning, and guess what? He did not win. Okay, every year I have my friend Elaine on the show. Episode 110, Zapped. It's about a science fiction movie that Elaine and I came up with. Space aliens that murder people they consider to be bad for the future of the human race. Politicians, abusers, polluters, corporate criminals. They all get zapped. Fuck. Elaine, wait a goddamn moment. We just predicted the assassination of the United Healthcare corporate criminal. Maybe that should be a movie. So here I am in March coming up with this, with Elaine, with this movie idea for, getting revenge on bad people. I guess that's a common theme in movies. Episode 111, Infamous Ithaca College Weirdos. I guess I got set off here when this advertising guy full of self-regard gave a commencement address at Ithaca College. That's the best they can do is this guy, Jason DeLand. And hair farmer David Muir of ABC News also went to Ithaca College. I mean, you get the connection here. I went there. It was a bunch of spoiled rich kids who had no goal other than to replicate the bourgeois lifestyle of their parents. Yeah, whatever. Something I did complete successfully because I was young and I hadn't accomplished anything in life. So though getting through a rich kid school, that's not much of an accomplishment. And of course, I'm reading from the episode description. You can go back and listen to all these. The coolest guy to ever walk the halls of Ithaca College was, of course, Gavin MacLeod, captain of the Love Boat.
Captain Stubing. He's always there for you. He greets you.
Captain Merrill Stubing at your command.
Eats with you. Kisses you. And even has time for a dance. Or two. There's just one question. If Captain Stubing is everywhere for you, then who's steering the boat?
Doomed Planet Podcast, episode 112. The Israel experiment is ending. Yeah. Genocidal Zionist settler colonial state of Israel is failing. No need to dwell on that, but fuck them. Send them to hell. For the past year and a half now, I've seen a stream of evil. Babies with their faces burned off. Babies with shredded heads. Okay, this was a good one. Beer violence. Product placement in Roadhouse 2024. They remade one of my favorite 80s schlock movies, Roadhouse, with the great Patrick Swayze. Roadhouse 2024 is all about product placement for the Molson Coors, this brewery conglomerate. Like, you see images and neon signs and everything for Coors, Hams, Hop Valley, Blue Moon, Pilsner Urquell, Miller, all owned by Molson Coors. Episode 114. Good space guy shoots for the moon. This was a waste of time. I had interviewed Good Space Guy before. He's the lunatic that is always running for office in Washington State. He's run for almost every office. So I called him up and talked to him, and then he wouldn't shut the fuck up. And then I actually just cut off the interview. And then when I was editing the podcast, I just said fuck it, and I just stopped it. So a 1.5 hour interview got cut down to 10 minutes. Oh, okay. So this is actually a voter's guide. Look, the Good Space Guy Part 2 episode. A freaky look at the right-wing liars, kooks, and weirdos running for office in Washington State. This was Prescient in August, episode number 115, Killer Kamala, the Kris Kringle of cringe. Say no more. In September, episode 116, fentanyl voyeurism. Okay, this is basically, I had a microphone plugged into my phone and I wandered around Seattle's Little Saigon neighborhood, interviewed a couple of fentanyl smokers. Episode 117, Halloween interview with RFK Jr. This is a favorite of mine. There's a guy on TikTok imitating RFK Jr.'s voice. And so I did that with this fake interview, and I'm very proud of myself. It's funny. And the episode previous to this one, number 118, Here Comes the Meme Stock Presidency. Those who expected genocide-supporting cop Kamala Harris to win the presidency are now unburdened by the November that has been. Okay, speaking of the Kamala Harris campaign, which was a giant billion-dollar fraud, the Harris campaign paid a small fortune to advertise on the Las Vegas Sphere, which was the Sphere is owned by the Dolan family, and as we go to publish this episode at the end of the year, Charles Dolan, HBO founder who sat atop a media empire, dies at 98. So he started Cablevision. He owns Madison Square Garden. His son, James Dolan, now kind of controls the empire, is an incredibly pathetic figure. He fancies himself as a rock star, and because he and his dad own Madison Square Garden and whatnot, he has actually his dumbass blues band, boomer blues band. This guy is 50 or 60, has opened for major prominent artists. So, Charles Dolan, business dick, and his son now controlling the empire, a complete psychopathic chud. This is a guy who used facial recognition technology to pick out people that had criticized him and lawyers that had sued him and prevented them from entering Madison Square Garden. So good riddance, and hopefully James will pass away soon as well. And of course, here we are on the last day of the year, finishing up the edit of this, our last podcast episode of the year, 2024 in review. Who died on us? Jimmy Carter. I just have many thoughts. I'll try to keep it brief. There's a famous photo of Jimmy Carter on the campaign trail in 1976 wearing a Allman Brothers t-shirt. And it's funny because Hunter Thompson, in his book Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72, at one point he was hanging out with George McGovern, the Democratic nominee at the time, who got wiped out by Nixon. He told him, well, why don't you just wear a Grateful Dead t-shirt and sit on the beach smoking a joint and have someone take a picture of you, and then you'll win the youth vote. Everything that happens, every major event, it all goes back to Barack Obama. And even the New York Times had fun with this one. Carter was a terrible, disastrous president and a war criminal like all American presidents, but at least he tried to redeem himself after his presidency and devote himself to good works. And the juxtaposition with Obama and with the Clintons and everyone else is striking. Obama has done nothing but promote himself as a celebrity and get rich with an endless series of facile business schemes. I think I posted a theory that if Barack Obama lives to be 100, he will be a multi-trillionaire. Lee Fang on Twitter says, Jimmy Carter working towards peaceful conflict resolution all over the world post-presidency, rather than just going to make money via corny entertainment deals or paid speeches from special interests, made him the last true American statesman in that respect. Carter's criminality is well known, supported lifting sanctions on Rhodesia, backed the Indonesian government in their genocide in East Timor, sent millions of dollars in aid to the far-right El Salvadoran dictatorship, actively backed the Khmer Rouge, and really was a precursor to Reagan, who started up, neoliberalism on steroids. Okay, well, that does it. What can we look forward to in 2025? It's going to be quite a year. As far as this podcast goes, we have very small audience after 5 years, and I don't see that changing, and I don't see me doing more than one episode per month changing at all. Thank you for listening to the Doomed Planet podcast, episode 119, Doomed Planet's frightening 5th season. Goodbye and good luck.
Since you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes.
They call him the adjuster. He fights the people's war. For those who've died from claims denied, he's settling the
the score. Now kings best pay attention, or bet there will be more, till y'all stop building mansions on the ashes of the poor. Now our grief's gone out of network, and our fucks have flown away, for the guy who pressed a button to deny us to our graves. Luigi said, I'll see your thousands dead and raise you just one more. They call him the Jester, and he settled in the score.
Find out more at doomedplanet.com. Goodbye.
Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design.
Law enforcement found shell casings at the crime scene with the words deny, defend, and depose.
Deny, defend, depose.
Deny, defend, and depose.